The first time I saw her, she was standing in the hallway, a cardboard box tucked under her arm, the morning sun pouring through the cracked dorm window. Her name was Elena. Soft voice, hair that curled at the ends like waves that didn't want to settle. She smiled when she saw me. That kind of shy, polite smile you give a stranger who's about to share your space. I was nervous. It was my first semester living off campus, and I hadn't shared a room with anyone since high school. I wasn't ready for someone else's toothbrush next to mine, their scent on the pillow next to mine, or their late-night music humming through my half of the room. But Elena, she had this calmness about her, the kind that made the air quieter somehow. She set her box down, brushed a strand of hair from her face, and said, "So, I guess we're roommates." I laughed softly. "Looks like it." That's how it started. An exchange so simple it could have vanished in the noise of 100 other dorm introductions. But I remembered every detail. Her chipped nail polish, the way her sweater sleeve hung a little past her wrist, the faint vanilla scent that followed her when she walked past. The first week passed in quiet politeness. We learned each other's rhythms. I liked to stay up late reading. She woke up early to jog. I drank too much coffee. She preferred green tea. But slowly, our habits began to overlap. She'd come back from her runs with 2 cups. They were 2 for 1, she'd say, and I'd pretend I believed her. I started making her coffee in return, even though she didn't really like it. It became our language, unspoken gestures, little offerings of care. One night, around midnight, I was sketching by the window when she came back from a late study session. The dorm was dark, except for the soft orange streetlight filtering through the curtains. She looked exhausted but beautiful, hair tied up messily, cheeks pink from the cold. She said that the scar on her chin came from a childhood bike fall. She asked why I was still up. I said I couldn't sleep because I had too much caffeine. She sat on the edge of my bed, which creaked under her weight, and I felt something inside me shift. We were close enough that I could see the tiny scar on her chin. The one she said came from a childhood bike fall. She asked if I could see what I was drawing. I hesitated but turned the sketchbook toward her. It was a half-finished portrait. Not of her exactly, but inspired by her. The curve of her jaw, the light in her eyes. She tilted her head, studying it quietly. She said it was beautiful, and smiled. I swallowed. It turned out to be describing herself. Weeks turned into months, and the boundaries between friendship and something deeper began to blur in the softest ways. She'd fall asleep on my side of the couch during movie nights, her head resting on my shoulder. I'd wake up early sometimes and find her still there, curled under the same blanket, her hand lightly touching mine as if reaching even in her dreams. And then there were the dreams. They started around that time, vivid, strange, and beautiful. I'd dream of her walking toward me through fog, her face illuminated by streetlights, her lips close enough to taste but never touching mine. I'd wake up with my heart racing, the echo of her name fading like a whisper in my ear. During the day, I'd try to act normal. I laughed when she teased me, I helped her study for exams, I listened when she talked about her ex-boyfriend from high school, pretending it didn't sting. But at night, when she turned off the lamp and the dorm slipped into silence, I'd stare at the ceiling and think about how much I wanted her to look at me differently, to see me not as her roommate, but as something more. One rainy evening, the line between dream and reality finally blurred. The storm outside had cut the power, and the room was lit only by the flicker of candles we'd found in a drawer. We sat on the floor, sharing a blanket, laughing about nothing in particular. The air was thick with the smell of wax and rain. Elena looked at me for a long moment. She asked me if we ever thought about what life would be like if we weren't afraid to say what we feel. My pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" She looked down, tracing circles on the rim of her cup. She had, "Sometimes I feel like there's something I'm not supposed to want, but I want it anyway." Her eyes met mine, and in that second, everything stopped. The rain, the thunder, even the air between us. I didn't move. Neither did she. For a moment, I thought she might close the space between us, but instead, she smiled, softly, sadly, and said, "Good night." Then she got up and went to bed. I sat there for hours, the candle melting down to nothing, wondering if I'd just imagined everything. But when I finally lay down, I could hear her breathing beside me in the dark, steady, warm, and close enough to make me believe that maybe one day the dreams would become real.
The next few weeks felt heavier, like every moment carried something unsaid, something fragile and alive between us. Elena had grown quieter. She still smiled, still made her morning tea and left notes on the fridge, "Buy more milk, good luck on your exam." But something in her eyes had changed. It wasn't distance, exactly. It was restraint. We were both pretending not to notice when our hands brushed as we reached for the same mug, pretending not to look too long when the other laughed, pretending that what happened during that storm night hadn't happened at all. But pretending is exhausting when every heartbeat betrays you. One night, after midterms, we decided to celebrate by ordering takeout and watching old movies, the kind of comfort we'd built together. Safe, familiar, maybe even a little domestic. She chose Before Sunrise. She said, "I like it because it feels real. Like love isn't about forever. It's about the moments that change you." I didn't answer. I just watched the glow of the TV light brush across her face, the way her eyes softened when the characters touched. I wondered if she could feel the same ache I did. Halfway through the movie, she fell asleep again. Head resting against my shoulder, her breath slow and even. I didn't move. I didn't dare. Instead, I let myself memorize her. The curve of her lashes, the way her lips parted slightly when she dreamed, the warmth of her weight against me. It was torture and comfort all at once. When she stirred, I thought she was still asleep until she whispered, "You stayed up?" "Yeah," I murmured. "Didn't want to wake you." She didn't move away. Instead, she whispered, so faint I almost missed it, "I dreamed about you." My heart stopped. What kind of dream? She hesitated, still half asleep. The kind I shouldn't tell you about. The air between us thickened. I could smell her shampoo, feel her heartbeat through the space between us. "Elena," I whispered, but before I could say more, she shifted, her hand brushing mine, her breath ghosting over my cheek. And then it happened, the softest, most tentative kiss. Barely a touch, almost a question. It was over in an instant, but everything inside me changed. When she pulled back, her eyes were wide and terrified. I shouldn't have." I caught her hand before she could move away. "Elena, wait." She shook her head. "I'm sorry. I can't." "You don't have to apologize," I whispered. "It's not just you." Silence. The rain outside tapped gently against the window, the movie credits rolling forgotten in the background. Then she said it, almost to herself. "I've never felt this way before. Not for a girl." I wanted to say me neither, but it wouldn't have been true. Maybe I'd always been waiting for this. For her. So instead, I said, "You don't have to label it. You just have to feel it." She looked at me then, eyes glistening with fear and something like relief. "And if I do, then let me feel it too." That night, we didn't kiss again. We didn't have to. She fell asleep beside me, our fingers tangled together like a promise. The air between us was warm, full of everything we hadn't said but somehow already knew. In the morning, sunlight spilled across our beds. She woke before me, her hair a soft halo against the pillow. For a second, she just looked at me. The kind of look you give when you realize something's about to matter more than you expected. When she noticed me watching, she smiled shyly. "Good morning." "Morning," I whispered back. Everything felt different. Fragile. Sacred. Days passed in a strange, blissful haze. We still acted normal, still went to class, cooked ramen at midnight, argued over music, but there were new moments now. Her hand brushing my arm and lingering. The way she'd whisper my name like a secret when she thought I was asleep. The quiet, stolen glances that said, "I see you." We didn't define it. We didn't dare. Maybe because we didn't want to break it by naming it. Then came the night everything changed again. She had been gone all day, visiting her sister in the city. When she came back, she looked off. Sad. Distant. I asked, "What's wrong?" She hesitated before saying, "My sister asked about us." "Us?" I repeated, trying to sound calm. "She saw the way I talk about you," she whispered. "She said it's dangerous, that people won't understand." I felt the sting before I could hide it. "And what did you say?" Elena turned away, staring at the dark window. I told her she was wrong, but then I started thinking, what if she's right? Something in my chest cracked. "You're scared." "Yes," she whispered, "because this," she gestured between us, "feels real. And I don't know what that means for us." I stepped closer, close enough to see her trembling. "It means we have something worth being scared for." Her eyes met mine then, full of tears she didn't let fall, and then she kissed me again. This time it wasn't hesitant. It was desperate, hungry, honest. We stumbled backwards, laughing through tears, hearts pounding, hands in each other's hair. It felt like every unspoken word had found its voice in that single moment. When we finally pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine. "I don't want to hide," she whispered. "Then don't." "Promise me," she said softly, "no matter what happens, you won't forget this." I couldn't if I tried. That night, the city outside seemed quieter, as if the world had paused to make space for us. Two girls in a tiny apartment, hearts wide open, unsure of what tomorrow would bring, but certain that tonight, this was love. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was dreaming anymore.
It was supposed to be simple. Classes, coffee, exams, late-night laughter. But love, real love, has a way of demanding more than you're ready to give. After that night, Elena and I slipped into something beautiful and terrifying all at once. She'd hold my hand under the table when no one was looking. We'd share quiet kisses before leaving for campus, like fragile secrets tucked between hours of normal life. It was ordinary, and yet it felt like the most extraordinary thing in the world. But the world doesn't stay kind for long. It started with a rumor. Someone in our literature class said they saw us together. Too close, too comfortable. A whisper here, a laugh there. At first, we ignored it. We told ourselves it didn't matter. Then one afternoon, as we sat in the cafe by campus, Elena froze mid-sip. Her phone buzzed. I watched her face pale as she read the message. "My mom," she whispered. "She's heard something." The fear in her voice was worse than anything. She said she wants to talk, that we should have dinner. Together. I nodded slowly. "You should go." Her eyes darted to me, uncertain. "Without you?" I smiled softly, though my chest ached. "For now." That evening, the apartment felt too big without her. I sat by the window, staring out at the glow of the city, trying not to imagine how that dinner was going. Would her mother shout? Cry? Would she tell her daughter that what we had was wrong? Every minute stretched like an hour. When Elena finally came home, she didn't say anything. She just sat beside me on the couch, silent. After a long while, I whispered, "What did she say?" Her voice trembled. "She said she loves me, but she doesn't understand, that I'm confused, that this is just a phase." She looked up at me, her eyes wet. "Am I confused?" I shook my head, tears rising before I could stop them. "No, Elena, you're not confused. You're just scared. We both are." She exhaled shakily, leaning into me. "I told her I love someone, but I couldn't say your name." That sentence shattered me in the quietest way possible. For a few days after that, she grew distant again. We still shared the same bed, but her touch felt hesitant, like she was pulling away in tiny, invisible pieces. I tried to give her space. I didn't ask questions, but the silence between us began to feel heavier than any fight. One night, I finally said what I'd been afraid to say. "Elena, are you leaving?" She froze. Her book slipped from her hands. "Why would you think that?" "Because you don't look at me the same way anymore." She stared at me for a long time before whispering, "It's not that I don't love you. It's that I don't know how to love you in a world that won't let me." I reached for her hand. "Then let's build our own world." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "You make it sound easy." "It's not, but it's worth it." She looked at me, then really looked, and for the first time in days, she smiled through her tears. "You always know what to say." Spring arrived quietly. Cherry blossoms fell outside our window, painting the sidewalks in soft pink. The air smelled new, hopeful, almost forgiving. One morning, Elena told me she'd been accepted into an internship abroad. Paris. 6 months. My heart lifted and sank at the same time. "That's amazing," I said. "You have to go." She frowned. "Are you mad?" "Mad? No," I whispered. "Just proud, and maybe a little heartbroken." She touched my face gently. "You'll be okay without me?" "I'll miss you every day," I said, honestly. "But I'll be okay." Her eyes filled again. "You make everything sound like goodbye." Maybe it's not goodbye. Maybe it's just later. The day she left, I went with her to the train station. We stood there on the platform, surrounded by noise and strangers, both pretending we weren't falling apart. She held my hand tight, her thumb tracing circles on my skin. "You changed my life, you know?" I smiled faintly. "You changed mine first." When the announcement echoed through the station, she leaned in. One last kiss, soft and trembling. It tasted like tears, like hope, like everything we couldn't say out loud. "I'll come back," she promised. "I'll be waiting." I whispered, and then she was gone, swallowed by the crowd, the noise, the distance. Months passed. The apartment felt different without her, quieter, emptier, but still full of her ghost. Her mug still sat on the counter, her sweater still hung on the chair, and sometimes at night I could still feel her warmth beside me. We talked every few days, short calls, pixelated smiles, bad Wi-Fi laughter. She'd tell me about Paris, about the art, the language, the rain, and I'd tell her about classes, the city, the way everything felt both too full and too empty without her. One evening, she said softly, "Do you ever regret it?" "Us?" "Yes." I smiled through the ache. "Never. Even if I never see you again, I'll never regret loving you." She was quiet for a moment before whispering, "Then I guess I'll never stop loving you either." It's been 2 years since that night. I still live in the same apartment. I still keep her mug by the sink. Sometimes when the rain falls and the city hums softly outside, I swear I can hear her laugh echo in the walls. People ask me if I ever dream of her. I don't, because some loves don't live in dreams anymore. They live in you, quietly, endlessly, beautifully.